Hello, and welcome once again to the Dental Marketing Mastery Series. This podcast is brought to you by dentalwebcontent.com and New Patients Incorporated. I'm Howie Horrocks, the founder of New Patients Incorporated. Along with me once again is my friend and partner and the president of New Patients Incorporated, Mark Dilatush. Well, hello, Mark. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, Howie. How is it back in August in Las Vegas? Is it cool there?
It's a little bit cooler. The temperature plunged to 102 yesterday. So
excellent. Were you able to go outside?
No, I stayed inside. It worked.
There you go. That's a good plan. Good plan.
All right. Today, I think we started talking about return on investment or marketing dollars.
Return on investment, with the analogy wrestling a greased piglet with chopsticks.
In other words, it's pretty hard to get a hold of this, isn't it?
That's right. It's really difficult to get a hold of it. Yeah. Every dentist.
There are reasons it is hard to get a hold of, right?
Oh, no, there's tons of reasons. Yeah, no. And they're all good reasons.
Yeah.
It's just that every dentist listening to this believes they have a handle on it.
Exactly.
And invariably we become the bearer of bad news.
Yep.
And it's almost sometimes can get confrontational.
What do you mean? Well, see?
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean? What do you mean Mary at my front desk isn't perfect? Right? What do you mean she doesn't put everything in the database? What do you mean she doesn't ask every patient what do you mean my patients lie to me?
Yeah.
Right? So, but the dentists are making incredibly important business decisions based first on data that they believe they control, on data that they believe they collect. And that is, let's say they think it's 80% accurate. And that's okay. If it was 80% accurate, I'd be okay with it. Right? Making business decisions from it, that would be great. But the reality again is it's not. And we have to jump in and say, whoa, back up. Hang on a second. The most common response we get is, I really think my staff really does a great job asking the patients how they found us.
Right.
How many times in the last 27 years have you heard that, Howie?
Oh, yeah. We don't need call tracking because we keep track of it.
Yeah,
And it's accurate.
It's accurate. Okay. All right. So now, dentists normally have never worked the front desk of a busy dental office. So they may not realize that maybe half of the new patients are asked how they found you. And I know you have a form, and on the form it says, how did you find us? And I know that is blank at least half the time. And I know the dentists right now are going, yeah, he's kind of right. It is blank half the time because the dentist looks at it. The front desk is probably peeling some kid off of the ceiling fan in the reception area while she's answering the phone on hold with an insurance company and trying to take the payment from the 3 hygiene patients who are backed up at the front desk. And you're gonna be angry at the person at your front desk because they didn't have the new patient fill in that form properly. No, you're not, because your front desk person is busy with 19 other things. The reality is that you don't get source information on every new patient that comes into your practice. Now, here's another reality. Half of what your patients tell you is a lie.
Or just incorrect.
Well, it's a lie.
Okay.
It is. It's a lie. I mean, come on. It's out of laziness and it's out of forgetfulness. So it's not like a bad lie. Like you would say, no, Mom, I didn't eat those 13 cookies. It's not that kind of lie. Okay. But it's still a lie that if you don't know and you give an answer, it's still a lie.
Okay.
All right. So, and dentists are sitting there on the end of this podcast thinking, no, my patients don't lie to me. Okay. Go back into your dental management software and do a search referral productivity by referral source analysis report and tell me how many of your patients said Yellow Pages in the last 5 years as the source of their new patient experience. And I bet you're not in the Yellow Pages, are you? Well, there's at least 5 patients who have lied to you. So my point is that there's nothing in it for the new patient to be accurate. Nothing. They can say whatever they want and they will say however they want. Yellow Pages, my friend, I forget my friend's name. I Googled you. That's a famous one. I Googled you. Dentists love to hear that because they give the credit for that new patient directly to their website, right?
Right.
All right. Now, here's the other problem this creates. Now, let's say that this example practice is doing a combination of online and offline promotion. And let's say a patient comes in and says, I Google, found you on the web, Google. Yet, they received your ad, either in the mail, in the newspaper, however you're promoting your dental practice. Patients are going to tell you the last thing they did, and they're never going to remember the first thing that triggered them. Okay? So far, we have empty referral fields in your database, a front desk person who you must admit sometimes gets too busy to remember everything, and patients who lie to you. Yet the dentist will call me and say, no, I'm 100% accurate. It's a myth. It's a mystery. It's what's that phrase? It's a conundrum wrapped in a, I don't know, in a vortex. Okay.
Enigma.
Yeah, it's an enigma in a vortex in a conundrum being flushed down the toilet. That's what it is. Okay. So the reality is that none of us know the exact source of every new patient. None of us do. Let's all agree to that so that we can work on this together, okay? Because before you go invest X thousands of dollars on your next marketing campaign, don't you want to know, at least within reasonable tolerances, how it's doing? And I think the answer everyone would say is, well, yeah, of course. I thought it was. Well, half of this podcast is to get you to admit that it's not. And the second half is to tell you how to maybe start to rebuild it so that you do. It's still not going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be a heck of a lot more accurate than it is right now. Okay. So your first step is to go back to where all the problems are. The first step is to put call tracking numbers on any of your external promotion that costs you more than 10% of your annual budget. So if you have a website and you have, let's say, an external direct mail campaign or magazine campaign or paid ads or radio or whatever your offline promotion and your website, you should have a call tracking number on both of those. One for your mailer, one for your website at a minimum. Does it stop there, Howie?
Well, no, it doesn't.
It starts there, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Why would we suggest that? A unique number on each outbound marketing device?
Well, when people call those 7 numbers, then there's a website that traps all the information, the date the call came in, the time the call came in, which number was dialed, how long the call was, in some cases, who answered the phone, the location of the prospect, the prospect's telephone number in case you missed the call, whether or not you missed the call. And there's all sorts of other analyses that come into a reporting website for every phone call that comes in from this advertising source.
Sounds like useful info.
It does. It's very useful, right? Okay, so remember back to our example, sometimes it gets a little crazy up at the front desk. Well, okay. It gets crazy up at the front desk, but if every new patient phone call was recorded, somebody, when it's not so crazy, could go back, listen to those phone calls, and go into the database and update the referral field properly, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be special? Right? Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's one other thing, it can also point out to you that, for example, you get a phone call come in and it's, 2:00 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Right.
You're not at lunch. You're open for business and nobody answered the phone.
Oops.
This can tell you that, well, it can tell you a lot of things, but it can tell you that your front end is probably overwhelmed.
Yes.
Or at least was at that point in time.
Right.
Because missed calls during business hours should never happen, but they do.
Right. That's right. And I can tell the dentists who are listening to this podcast that all of you will get pushback from your staff for having tracking numbers on your advertising. It's the same concept as them never wanting a management consultant to ever come into your dental practice. They probably don't want you or anyone else listening to the phone calls either. Okay. So I'm just letting everybody know that. All right. So you have to deal with that up front. But once you have the numbers and people dial the numbers, and you record the information and you listen to the interaction between your team and the person, the new patient on the telephone, and you know what day and time, and you know which ones you missed. It's funny, when a dentist doesn't know they're missing new patient phone calls, they hardly ever wince. But when you tell them that they're missing 13 new patient phone calls a month, they wince.
Yeah, that's wasted money.
That's just, you might as well just take hundreds. It's sort of like going to Disneyland. Just get a tissue dispenser, take all the tissues out, fill it up with $100 bills, and just walk around and throw it at Mickey and Donald. Okay? It's basically what it's like. You're just throwing money away, right? And that makes a dentist wince.
Mark, you remember this. I mean, sometimes during our live presentations, we'll just ask for a show of hands in the audience. How many of you would like to increase your marketing effectiveness, your marketing ROI, without spending any more on marketing than you are right now?
That's right.
And of course, everybody's hand goes up.
Right.
And then we say, this, what we're about to tell you, will increase your marketing punch by 20%.
Right.
And it's in 3 words: answer your phone.
Answer your phone. Right. It's actually 18.8%.
18.8 is what we've discerned are missed calls. Missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Missed, totally, completely missed. We're experts. We are, I don't know, we're tooting our horn here, but dentists come to us because we know how to get the top half of the dental market to react and come into their office. Let's just call it like it is, okay? And the only thing that we create in our entire company that generates a phone call to an answering machine where the new patient actually leaves a message is our 8-page magazines. Every other thing that every other management or marketing company will ever do to produce new patient phone calls for you, when those new patients call and get the voicemail, they will hang up.
Yep.
Okay. They're not calling back. Not unless they got our magazine. If they got our magazine, they'll leave a 25-minute message. Okay.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, magazines aside, the bottom line is you're never going to get to our magazines unless you handle this first. So let's focus on handling this correctly first. If you have a day off during the week and you're not covering your phones, you're going to see this show up in your call tracking, right? Okay, you're going to see 18.8%. 18.8% of all of the calls that come in, new patient calls that come into all of our offices in an aggregate, are missed. And they're not being missed because new patients are calling on Sunday mornings at 9:30. These are calls between Monday and Friday, 8 to 5. So anyway, now, but wouldn't that be nice to know so that you can grow your ROI? Right?
Right.
Okay. Everybody says they want to grow their ROI. Well, you can't just look at your advertising guy or gal. You can't just look at your marketing company. Okay. Some of this stuff, unfortunately, is you and your staff. Some of it is systems, and arguably some of it is communication. Okay. But we always focus on the system side first. If you can somehow stop 18.5% of your new patient calls from being unanswered and going to voicemail and having a hang up, boy, that's an advancement. That's an improvement in ROI immediately. And that's always something that we would gravitate toward and put in front of you.
Right. And it's also a matter of what's correct, what's accurate, what's real.
Right.
If you don't have a tracking service, and it doesn't matter, I mean, we've got one for our clients, but there are other ones out there. But if you don't have that, then you don't have that certainty. What those dentists will end up thinking invariably is that there's something wrong with the damn marketing. It isn't working.
Right.
Right. And they'll flit around. Okay, now we need to try something else, and now we need to try another company, and now we need to do this, and we need to get. And it's all based on the fact that they don't have an accurate picture of what's really happening.
Right.
And so, even our own clients, they'll say, "Gee, I don't know if the marketing is working." Well, have you taken a look at the phone calls? Well, no, they don't have time for that. So we go listen to them.
Right.
And we find out, gee, doc, you got, X, 28 new patient phone calls and you only got one out of that. It's not the marketing. It might be a bunch of other stuff, but it isn't the marketing. The phone's ringing. Right. You just don't know it.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things that will spin off of this first podcast, because call tracking is one thing. Covering your missed calls is one thing. There's a company now who will put a widget on your website and integrate with your practice management software, where new patients can actually book their appointment right there on your website, and it won't double and triple book them. It's not like other systems. It actually integrates real tight with your practice management software. So there might be an answer right there. That's 24/7, 365 coverage for new patient appointments from the internet, right? So there's several ways now that we can help you begin to put together a real cohesive, orchestrated, properly functioning, properly operational overall total marketing plan. A total marketing plan is really, honestly, Howie, it's part us and part client. Don't you agree? I mean,
yes.
We have clients that we've blown the door. The number of phone calls was above our expectation, right? And they're in a 1 to 1900 market. We tell the doctor, well, it's going to be a little better than average, and all of a sudden, boom, call volume and call quality just skyrockets, and a doctor calls and says, yeah, I don't know what I'm getting from it. They're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So this podcast, and there's all kinds of other issues when you talk about ROI. This is really the first ROI podcast. We'll call this ROI call tracking, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's going to be, I can guarantee you there's going to be one on blocking new patient appointments. There's definitely going to be some time devoted to not only blocking new patient appointments, but finding that sweet spot of being booked out in the doctor's book. We have many clients over the years who got too full and they didn't recognize it when it happened, and that's a problem. You never want to you never want to market your way into a situation where a patient has to wait more than a week or so to see the dentist. Okay.
Right.
So then we can talk about balance, and then we can talk about, oh my God, it's like an ancestry tree of ROI.
Oh yeah, that's another whole subject.
That's a whole other probably 2 podcasts, right? That we will do for you, but for this podcast, here's what you learned from this one. I hope this is what you've learned. Come to peace. I wish I could do like I don't know. Come to peace with the fact that your new patient source data is terrible. Just come to peace with it, okay? Because it is, all right? Come to peace with the fact that the person who works at your front desk probably has your best interest in their heart, in their mind. But come on, man, it gets busy up there, and they can't possibly make sure that one little field, the referral field in your database, is filled in 100% of the time or accurate. Come to peace with the fact that your patients lie to you because there's nothing in it for them to be accurate. There's nothing in it for them to tell you the real source of them finding you. So they make stuff up. I drove by. Whatever. Okay. So there is no accuracy even from your patient's perspective. And even if there were, now we can get into measuring it, and you're really not measuring it accurately or appropriately. So we basically just introduced you to this thing called call tracking today, which from an operational standpoint systemizes the new patient sources into a database that you can analyze on the back end, where you can see your shortcomings, you can take action to close them up. You can follow up with new patients who leave a message on your answering machine on your day off, just on the happenstance that you might catch them and be able to reclaim that new patient. You can set up your phones to be covered as well as you can. Maybe you can put the appointment scheduler on your website to make it easier for new patients to make their first appointment. Get there. Get to that point, because once you get to that point, we probably have 2 or 3 other podcasts for you. Okay.
All right.
That'll take you through to, separating out the real, the media types, offline, online, what to expect from each as far as ROI. And then you have first line responders, referrals, tertiary, production from all those. It just gets unbelievably viral. But it is incredibly important for you to understand how to measure it. Because here's why. If you don't measure it appropriately, you will always just be disappointed with whatever advertising you do.
Yeah.
Okay. And it may not be the advertising. It may be the way you're measuring it. And if you go through your entire dental career frustrated over the impact of your dental advertising, that's just going to add stress to unnecessary stress to your life. You should be able to go through your career as a dentist not worrying about how your advertising is doing. That's the whole idea, right? Okay. So, this start and stop, this didn't work, I'm going to move on to this. I mean, Howie brought it up before. That's a terrible, terrible way to go through a dental career. So with this podcast and the future podcasts on ROI, we're hoping we can help you bridge that gap so that your advertising is as predictable as humanly possible and creating a great return.
Great, Mark. Well, nice talking with you again today.
You got it, sir.
And to all of you out there listening, we'll see you again next time.
Bye-bye.
We hope you've enjoyed our podcast today. You can find more podcasts on our YouTube channel, on Stitcher, and iTunes. Also on our websites, dentalwebcontent.com and New Patients Inc.